Hi, and welcome back to TerraFarms for this mod review with me, Farmer J. Now, I know I've said a couple of things about mods in the past. Typically, I only download mods from ModHub because it is a reliable website. It's owned by giants. And the mods are all tested and attributed to the correct authors. I have mentioned before not to use other websites for mods because a lot of the times somebody has taken somebody else's mod, modified it slightly, and then claimed it as their own. However, in this case, I am going to make an exception. Because A, this mod is not out on ModHub yet, because giants are on Christmas. And 2, it is truly a fantastic mod. It is something that I personally have been waiting for a long time. And I think a lot of us have also been waiting for a long time. Essentially, TerraFarm is a mod that allows us to terraform the ground using equipment instead of the terrain editing tools provided by giants. It's got pretty much most of the flexibility that the giants editing tools have, but it brings some realism to the game. And SCFMOD has done a fantastic job with this. I will link to his official mod on GitHub. I don't recommend you download it from anywhere else. Use the link I provide. And if you reference it, please make sure you reference his official release on GitHub and not somebody else's hacked version of this mod. I can't stand people that come along and take somebody else's mod and claim it as their own. It is intellectual piracy. Now, this mod does not require the excavator you see in front of me. It will work with the various buckets and tools that are provided in the game. I have just downloaded this excavator. It's also by SCFMOD to demonstrate later on some of the other functions that you can do and the potential for other tools that this mod brings to the game. We're going to start off using a standard in-game front loader. Actually, this is the New Holland one that I'm going to use, and that is a mod from Giants, so it's an official mod. But the bucket is, where are they? Wheel loader tools, the McCormick Industries high dump bucket. The mod will also work with the Maxi high dump bucket for a wheel loader. It'll work with the Maxi universal bucket for a telehandler. And it will also work with the Albut, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Albut universal bucket for a tractor and front end loader, depending on how big or how realistic you want to go. So let's go over to the front end loader and we'll look at some of the basics of what this mod does. The first thing you're going to want to do when you're in the vehicle of choice with the appropriate bucket attached is you're going to want to press Z or Z to open up the TerraFarm settings. And you just want to make sure that TerraFarm is enabled. I turned debug mode off. I have no use for it unless you're a modder. You probably don't either. Discharge mode, I didn't bother changing any of the settings. The fill type, I'm going to leave as stone, because this map really only, being a default map, has stone as a fill type. Now, when you go to his website, you'll see he's added several different fill types so that map makers or modders that are making maps can enable those types of fill to make an even more realistic experience. I'm gonna leave terrain painting on, and I'm going to use dry grass as the painting for the map. You can switch that to animal mud, concrete, and it'll basically lay down a paint type just like painting does in the landscaping tools. The next setting enables the strength of your bucket and the radius, kind of like using the different keys for the landscaping tool. I'm going to leave these as default for right now. And then we'll go back to our vehicle. Once you've set those settings, you're pretty much safe for any of the vehicles you want to use. Now, each vehicle you want to use, you will need to press Y to enable TerraFarm. And then you've got the two different work modes. And the keys for the work modes are probably not showing up because I don't have... There we go. I pressed Y to enable it. So B will toggle your discharge mode, normal, raised ground, flattened ground, smooth ground, paint ground, or normal. The mode itself you change with the X key. Now this is kind of like the terrain editing tools or the landscaping tools. You can either change to smooth ground, lower ground, flattened ground, smooth ground. So we're going to go to flattened ground. I'm going to keep my bucket up for now. And as you can see in front of me, I have created, using the landscaping tool, a small bump in the ground. I just want to flatten that out. So I'm going to lower my tool, my bucket, once I get close, and put it down. As I go forward, you'll see it starts to level out the ground until the bucket is filled with stone. You can then take the stone and you can dump it somewhere. Into a trailer if you want to take it to the debris crusher and make some money. What do you mean I don't have access to this land? I'm sure I paid for it. Okay, I'm gonna buy it. I thought I'd already purchased it. Now I should have access to this land, so I can go ahead and dump my stone in a pile. Then I go back. And I just lower my bucket. Now I'm using a mouse and keyboard. If you're using a joystick, it's going to be a lot easier. And if you're using the SciTech panel, it's going to be even easier when you go to use more advanced equipment. Sorry, I'm thinking at the same time as I'm recording. So as you can see, we're slowly eating away at that hill that was created. It's almost gone. And there you see, we've leveled out the ground pretty well, more or less. Let's try one more pass. And it's continuing to level out the ground. I'll dump my rock. Now rock, of course, is fairly heavy, so if you're using a tractor or another piece of equipment, you probably want to make sure it's got a decent weight to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my work mode to .z, change work mode. X. Smooth ground. I can lower my bucket. Now this ground is already fairly smooth, so it's not going to do too much. But as you can see, it's going to go over. And any lumps in the ground, it's going to smooth it out. The other thing I can do is I can lower the ground. Now that's going to take a little bit of time, but as you can see, we've created a little dip in the ground. Yeah, more rock for us to deal with. And I could keep going, and I could dig out a hole. I can also use it to raise the ground. Let's go back to flat. Let's go to smooth. And we'll hopefully get that hole filled in. That hasn't fully worked. Let's try another pass. There we go. It's smoothing it out. Okay, as far as discharge mode goes, that's where you change it to the raised ground. And what happens is, let's say I go back and I pick up some, hopefully I can pick up some of my rocks. There we go. And I want to fill in that little bit of a hole that we left. I'm going to start dumping some of my rock, and as you can see, it's raising the ground. Pretty incredible, right? I keep forgetting what the keys are. Smooth ground. B is toggle discharge mode. Flattened ground, smooth ground, paint ground. And normal. So normal is where you get your rocks from. If we're smoothing this. And we pressed X to dig another hole. And we got the rocks. If I dump back in, because it's not set for the discharge mode, it's just going to pile stone there. Now, you have to remember, this is still in its preliminary form. And even though I've been playing around with it for a while, because discharge mode was set to flatten, it didn't dump the rocks. There, now it'll dump the rocks. I guess my point is, with this mod, what it's going to give us the ability to do in the long run is to take usable material from our landscaping and actually do something with it. So if we needed to smooth, let's say, as farmers often have to do because of all the equipment going over it, a gravel driveway, you could dump a load of rock and then you could smooth it out using a front end loader. You could dig a hole, a drainage ditch, for example, and you can take that material and you can dump it somewhere else, either in a pile for storage later like we did with the stone, or you could take it to another field and use it to fill in a dip in the ground, fill in a ditch that you don't particularly want anymore. So long term, this has got a lot of potential. The fill types that he's got listed so far are asphalt, coal, tailings, concrete, limestone, gravel, sand, iron, pay dirt, river sand, stone powder, and clay. Now, because this map doesn't support it, I'm not going to try and demonstrate any of those. But yeah, like I said, to be able to take gravel, for an example, from a big pile somewhere and then re-flatten your driveway will just add an extra level of realism to the game. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to try and level out that hole we created. I wasn't quite low enough. There we go. And as you can see, it's smoothing out the terrain as we go. As the mod becomes more advanced, I'm sure we will be able to fill the bucket and use the smooth tool at the same time. Let me just try one thing. Let me try flatten ground and smooth ground at the same time and see if it does it. Yep, see, it's going to give us rocks. So it's just a matter of playing with the settings. So because this ground was fairly level, we didn't get a whole pile of rocks in our bucket. But if we hop out, we can see it's nice and smooth and looks perfect. As you can see, we used the dry grass texture, which left us with the basic field texture. If we want to change that, we go into Z, and this is where you change the type of painting you want it to do. So we'll lower that back down. And I might need to change discharge mode to nope, smooth. B, paint ground. There we go. I don't fully have the hang of it yet. Flatten ground, paint ground. Let's get rid of those rocks. And let's try one more time to see if we can get it to paint the ground. I know I got it to do it before when I was tinkering with it, but I can't remember how I did it. There we go. I had the wrong setting on. I had to turn disable paint off so it would actually paint the ground. And you can see now it's left a mud texture. Or the animal mud texture. The final thing I'm going to show you with my limited knowledge of this mod is that you can actually I dropped them. I'm not too good. I don't, like I said, mouse and keyboard makes using this very difficult, but I can dig out the water plane. I can then take the rock, dump it, then very slowly using my keyboard or my mouse, take that back. Do another dig. Pile my rock on the ground, and we'll get out and we'll have a look. So as you can see, it's created a nice deep hole in the ground. If we smooth this out a little bit, it would be perfect, because this pond is not a water source because it's too shallow. But we can take either the front end loader or the excavator and we can make it deeper. And we can also expand it. You can see how that water plane has followed where the excavator went, so we can make bigger ponds. Again, a feature I see as having a lot of potential in the future. I don't want to drag this video out too long. We're already at the 25-minute mark. But I wanted to show you at least some of its basic functionality. And SCF modding is continuing to add to the functionality as time goes on. Like I said, the big advantage to this is I can see it finally giving us a purpose other than just using the landscaping tools to do stuff. The ability to alter terrain using vehicles is something people have been asking for a long time. And the other thing I think it shows potential for is terrain manipulation using vehicles, which could potentially lead into different types of terrain having different effects on vehicles. Like mud and plowing would actually be 3D plowing as opposed to a texture that's laid over. Depending on how far this can go, I don't know. I'm not a modder and I'm not a programmer. But I do see this being one of the big mods coming with a lot of potential, just like Global Factory led to productions in Farming Simulator 22. Forestry started off as a mod and was incorporated into the game. I see this, maybe nothing, maybe not in Farming Simulator 22, but in future versions I can see this mod becoming a fixture or part of the game, which will allow us to do all sorts of good things in terms of terrain manipulation without just using a terrain editing tool. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. A thumbs up never hurt anyone. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.